windows once you go down. You must be crazy if you think that I'ma slow down. Don't wanna hear it talking shit, fuck the drama. Keep it coming, I'ma send you to your mama. Mr. Whip, 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 get the guns out. Dropping bodies in the place till the sun's out. Can't fuck with me, so don't even try. Cause when the bullets fly, I'm the last one to die. If you think that I'ma slow down, don't wanna hear it talking shit, fuck the drama. You keep it coming, I'ma send you to your mama. Pistol whip, quick clip, get the guns out. Dropping bodies into place till the sun's out. Can't fuck with me, so don't even try. Cause when the bullets fly, I'm the last one to die. Pulling up black windows once you go down. You must be crazy if you think that I'ma slow down. Don't wanna hear it talking shit, fuck the drama. You keep it coming, I'ma send you to your mama. Pistol whip, quick clip, get the guns out. Dropping bodies into place till the sun's out. Can't fuck with me, so don't even try. Cause when the bullets fly, I'm the last one to die.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the ATL Hurricane Podcast, your home for everything Miami Hurricanes football. I'm your host, Nuke Waves, and today we will be covering episode number 2 of the podcast. All right, episode number 2. Still new to this. If you guys watched the last episode, guys know we went over, just the basic, my fandom, how I came to be a fan, talked about the state of the program, stuff like that, man. This episode, man, we are going to be covering the 2024 season, man. We're gonna review the 2020, quick little review of the 2024 season. We are going to talk about season 4 of, the upcoming season 4 of the Mario Cristobal Mario Cristobal era. My bad. We're also going to talk about, some of the off-season moves that we made, man, to the coaching staff, some of the incoming transfers and freshmen and some of the guys that left. We're also going to do a quick little preview of the upcoming 2025 season. So, hey, man, y'all guys stay tuned. We got a action-packed show today. And make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you like the content. There's more to come. It's a lot more content, different types of content that's going to be coming, man. So y'all stay tuned because we got more. All right, we finna start this thing off. All right, guys. So first up, man, season 4 of the Mario Cristobal era. Okay, this is season 4. We went over the first 3 seasons on the last episode. But man, just to touch on a couple things, how does the roster, compare to the first 3 seasons? That was something that we touched on in the first episode. We're gonna take, just gonna run over that real quick. With year 4, this is looked at as the strongest and most complete, roster that we've had since Mario has been here, man, from top to bottom, from the offense. We brought in Carson Beck for to replace Cam Ward. We'll get into more of that a little later. We really have a 3-headed monster in the running back room. Brought in a transfer from North Dakota State, which is one of the top FCS programs in the entire nation. And we brought in some transfers, at receiver, tight end, brought in a new center. So I really feel like the offense probably more than likely will not miss a beat under Shannon Dawson. The defense is, what we needed to address the most, so, again, the recruiting classes, have been stacking and building, and now Mario's first full recruiting class from 23, which was the number 7 recruiting class in the nation, with, the likes of Mao Nova and Ruben Bain Jr., those guys are now true juniors, and, they are actual leaders, on the team. Guys look at them, to answer certain questions, whatever, get them pointers about, just being on the squad, being in the environment, right? So, those guys are older. The 24 classes in their second year, man, guys like Jordan Lau, JoJo Trader, those guys gonna have to step up this year because we lost a lot. Not only in the transfer portal, but to the NFL, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to have, to be sending guys to the NFL, man. So, like I said, the 23 class was the number 7 recruiting class, but also we had in 23 the number 12 transfer portal class. So some of them guys are still here, and like I said, they're older, they're leaders now, and they're going to be looked upon to really step up, man. In the 24 class, we had the number 4 class, the number 4 ranked recruiting class in the entire nation, and we had the number 16 transfer portal class. Again, those guys are a year older. Those are second year players. Some of them guys are still here from the transfer portal. And last year, we had, this past offseason, we had the number 14 recruiting class, which isn't, the top 10 that we're kind of used to Mario bringing in, these first few years. But, man, these freshmen, these guys are really, really turning heads, and they're making a lot of noise in the spring and fall camps, and they're going to be looked upon, to contribute a little bit to the squad, and we had the number 3. We actually had the number 3 transfer portal class in the entire nation this past offseason, man. We brought in a lot of really high value, high talented players, and they're really going to be looked at, to really contribute a lot, to this season. Like I say, we lost a lot to the NFL, guys that graduated. So we got to replace that production, man. And then, while, like I was saying, while experience dips because, these guys have went to the NFL, man, or, some guys may have transferred out, in certain position groups like the receivers, secondary, the talent remains at an elite level, man. We got some really good young guys that just have to step up and really show that, they've been progressing, throughout the years. JoJo Trader got to step up. We're really looking to see who's going to be that number 1 receiver, since Restrepo's gone, Jacoby George, those guys are gone, they're no longer here. So there's going to be a new number 1 receiver, so those guys really got to step up and, just infuse the talent in, with the guys, the young guys, or, some of the older guys that we brought in, stuff like that, man. So next thing is, like, can Mario be trusted with his on-field decision making and on-field coaching? That's something that's really been a big question since Mario's been here, because there's been some blunders in the past years, man. Even last year, there has been some blunders. Honestly, that question can only be answered, on the field. It can only come to fruition on the field. We have to see it. Has to be proven on the field. You can't just talk about it. With continued late game and late season blunders, man, like in 2024 with Georgia Tech and blowing a 21-point lead at Syracuse, the last regular season game of the season, Mario has to prove, that that he can, evolve as a game manager, and really trust his coordinators to make the right calls and really master, has to really match, the elite talent that's on the roster with the production that's going on the field, man. So that's going to be a big question that he needs to answer. Also, Mario has to show that he can give, like I say, full reign to his coordinators, but also show that, in some cases, just like in 2024 with Lance Guidry, man, he has to be able to step in and correct, when the coordinators aren't doing what he thinks and sees the team should be doing. He can't be afraid to, not saying that he is afraid, but he can't be, just hesitant to be like, hey, like, all right, these guys aren't getting it done. Either put some new guys in or change up, the scheme, try something different, and I don't know for sure, because like I said in the last episode, I'm not an insider, but it really doesn't seem like he seems like he just gave Lance Guidry a crazy amount of leash, and or wasn't on a leash at all. And it just went downhill, man. The defense was pretty bad, man. And like I say, man, until these questions can be answered, man, is skepticism is warranted from the fan base, from the national pundits. I mean, I question sometimes, I give a little grace, I feel like I'm definitely a graceful person. I give a lot of grace to certain situations, but, Mario got to step up in those areas, man. Do we have the right combination of coaches, man? Like I said, at the top of the show, we brought in a lot of, it was pretty much an overhaul on the defensive staff, man. So those guys got to gel really fast. We brought in a new defensive coordinator, 2 secondary coaches, interior defensive line coach. Like, those guys really have to gel quickly. And I really do think that we have a great combination of coaches, man. They just gotta, put it all together and, solidify, that defense. And like I say, man, this will be the most complete team that Mario has had at Miami. Year 4, I'm not saying it's a do or die season. I personally, I don't think that we will win a national championship, but I do think we can put some pressure on some of these top teams and make some noise in the postseason, man. We definitely should be in the ACC championship game. Whether we win or not, that's to be determined. But, those things have to, like, it got to come together, man. It has to come together. Okay? It got to come together. So now we're going to touch, on, we're just going to do a quick little review of the 2024 season. Last year, great season, man. Record wise, it was a great season. Okay. The overall record was 10-3. We lost 3 of the last 4 games, which isn't good. Something that we're definitely going to touch on. Something that we got to get better at. Again, you got to get better at closing out the season, closing out these tough games, man. Again, there was definitely an improvement on the roster and the team with the guys' mentality and the way that they approach the game. You can tell because, early in the season, I'll say the first 4 games of the season, man, like, this team was clicking, man. We were on one. Okay. We were really on one. We beat Florida first game of the season, man. We went into the swamp and smacked Florida. Okay. Smacked those pesty, ugly Gators. 41-17. The swamp was quiet, or it was loud with Miami fans. Cause crazy enough, Miami fans do travel really well. Because like I said in the last episode, there's fans everywhere. We have fans everywhere. And listen, man, we definitely traveled to the swamp and put a whooping on them boys. Like I was saying, overall, I'll go to the regular season. Our regular season record was 10-2. ACC record 6-2. And a great stat that I really want to emphasize and I want to continue is we went 6-0 at home last year. We went undefeated at home at the Rock. We need to keep that up. All right. With this Notre Dame game coming up, we definitely need to pack the Rock out. I hear it's going to be an orange out, so everybody make sure you wear orange. I think we can get it done, man. I really think we can beat Notre Dame. But yeah, so like I said, we beat Florida first game of the season, man. Next 2 games was kind of cupcakes with who was it? Ball State and FAMU, and then we played USF. We first half was kind of ugly, but we pulled away in the second half. And so we beat Florida and Florida State last year. So we won the Florida Cup. It's been a while since we won that. It was only the second 10-win season, man, in the past 20 years. Only the second 10-win season since 2004, man. 2017 was the last time, that we had a 10-win season. And subsequently, it was the last time that we smacked Notre Dame. So I really think this is going to be a great season, all right? We started the season, I know, like I said, we reached number 4 ranking in the entire nation. We was number 4 in the nation, and then it went downhill after that, okay? We took a loss to Georgia Tech, where we really should have won that game. It was a tough-fought game. It was some turnovers in that game. Again, the defense, after the first 4 games of the season, man, the defense was really exposed, man, especially the secondary. The D-line, was good last year. It was just that these offenses and the quarterbacks were getting the ball out so fast because the secondary was so bad. Like, the secondary was so bad last year that the defense didn't even have time to get to the quarterback. Like, they would be like right in their faces and the quarterback getting the ball off right before he getting hit, man. But guys like Tyler Barron and Simeon Barrow, Ruben Bain got hurt in the first game, like I said, last year. But the D-line wasn't the worst of the defense last year. It was definitely the secondary, and the secondary really let us down, man. Like I said, we dropped 2 of the last 3 games of the season. Georgia Tech and Syracuse, which don't get me started on Syracuse, okay? We should have won the Syracuse game. We were up 21-0, and we let them boys come back. We took our foot off their neck, and we let them boys come back. We failed to reach the ACC championship game. We were supposed to reach the ACC championship game. It came down to SMU and Clemson actually beat those boys out. Clemson had a worse record than us last year. Clemson was 9-3 in the regular season. They made the ACC championship game because they only lost one ACC game. We have to dominate the ACC in the regular season, man. If we do that this year, we will definitely be in the ACC championship game. Okay. And then we lost in the Pop-Tart Bros to Iowa State 42-41 again. It's been a lot of controversy about Cam Ward sitting out the second half of the game, but when he left the game, we had a lead. Emory Williams probably wasn't his best outing as being a part of the program, but we had we could have won that game. He could have managed the game a little better. Maybe Dawson was a little hesitant on type of plays he would call. Maybe he was playing a little too safe. Mario's already a pretty safe, close to the vest, type of coach. He doesn't really go out there. But we lost that game 42-41, man. And that's how we ended up with the 10-3 overall record. We had the number one offense, the number one scoring offense in the nation. We had the number one scoring offense in the nation, the number 2 passing offense in the nation, and the number 5 rushing offense in the nation. Top 5 in yards per rush. For our running backs. Damian Martinez, who was a transfer from Oregon State, came in, man. He really showed up. He had over 1,000 yards on the season. Fletcher had over 600 yards on the season, and Jordan Lau, who's a true freshman last year, had over 400 yards, in the season. So we had over 2,000 yards rushing. Cam Ward also had about 200 plus, rushing yards. So, our offense was really clicking, man. Like I said, defense was a major issue, especially the secondary after week 4. It went downhill. We were really exposed. We was really exposed in the USF game. Like I said, in the first half, it was really ugly. But we just pulled away in the second half. They couldn't get anything else after the second half. But, man, with the D-line suffering some injuries, and like I say, man, just these offenses was getting the ball out so quick. I really think the USF game is the game that kind of exposed the defense in the secondary. Then after that, it's like every team just took advantage of that, man. We had some really close calls between Vatech, man, Cal, Louisville, and like I say, Syracuse. That just Virginia Tech really. We barely got out of the Virginia Tech game. We barely got out of the Cal game. Like, oh my God, we had to come back from 25 down against Cal, which is crazy. But subsequently, those Vatech and Cal were the top 2 secondaries that we played all of last year. Those guys had a lot of NFL talent in their secondary. So, it just made it, a little tougher, on the offense, even though the offense was still scoring, but, it was really a back and forth because the defense wasn't stopping nobody and it was making it a little tough on the offense, the inability to close out season strong, in some of these games and, just being able to beat the beatable teams. We have to beat the beatable teams. These teams that should not be on our level, the Syracuses, the Georgia Techs, we should be smacking these teams, man. We should be beating these guys. We should not be losing to these dudes, Key transfers stepped up for us, for the program. Cam Ward, Martinez, like I say, Simeon Barron, also Bell on the offensive line, man, big giant man. He's a good deal, Cam, listen. Cam was a godsend, man. Cam is. I'm not even going to say probably. Cam is definitely the best quarterback that has walked through these hallways at the U. Cam Ward last year, man, he finished 3rd in Heisman voting. We haven't had somebody in Heisman since Vinny Testaverde, or maybe Ken Dorsey. I don't know, but Vinny Testaverde is the only player that's ever won Heisman at the U. So he finished 3rd in the Heisman voting, which I think he should have been a little higher. He should have at least been 2nd. I knew Travis Hunter was going to win it because he was killing on both sides of the ball, but he definitely should have been 2nd. I don't think Genty should have been 2nd in Heisman voting. But Cam had over 4,300 passing yards, had 43 total touchdowns, 39 passing, 4 rushing touchdowns. He was a Davey O'Brien Award winner. It's a first-team consensus All-American, ACC Offensive Player of the Year. And he set multiple school records at the U, man. Multiple school records. And he also set the all-time career passing touchdowns record in FCS and FBS history, man. So, good job for Cam. Like I say, the best player probably since Sean Taylor that's come through these walls. Strepo X, he's had his second consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season, man. So kudos to him. Like Simeon Barrow received some All ACC honors. I think he's the first team or second team All ACC. And but the narrative still remains about crystal balls, teams performing lackluster in late game situations and late season situations. Like, we have to correct those things, man. So that's how 2024 ended. Like I said, again, overall record was 10-3, 6-2 in the ACC, man. And again, undefeated at home. We need to keep that up, man. That undefeated at home was a really, I love that stat when I read that, man. So some of the offseason, some of the offseason moves, that were made, although, a lot of production has moved on from rather to the NFL or to other programs, Miami is still hailed as one of the top transfer portal destinations, man, in the nation. And with the significant infusion this past offseason at quarterback, O-line, and defensive backfield, we brought in the number 3 transfer portal, according to 24/7 Sports, right? The number 3 transfer portal. I think number 1 was LSU. I think number 1 was LSU. Number 2 was Texas Tech. And we were number 3, man. So, some of the key departures, some of the guys that left. Of course, our backup quarterback, Reese Poffenbarger. Y'all remember the Poff. Reese Poffenbarger, he transferred to North Texas, man. We had 2 running backs that transferred out, man. A.J. Allen, which I really loved. A.J. Allen, I loved his change of pace. He was a very patient running back, man. He had really good vision, man. I wish he would have, stayed, and he would have been a part of that 3-headed monster. But, he wanted to go, somewhere where he could probably be the number 1 guy. I think he has 1 or maybe 2 years of eligibility left. He may have 1, but I think he had 3 when he got here, and he was here for 2 years. So, A.J. Allen, he transferred to Tulsa. He originally transferred to FIU, but then he transferred to Tulsa, I think, after the summer. Chris Johnson Jr., transferred to SMU, the U.S., as some people would say. We lost, man, I hated this one, man. We lost a big one at receiver, man, with Isaiah Horton going to Alabama, man. I bet Isaiah Horton is probably really kicking himself right now, because they just got beat by Florida State. And, he probably wish he would have stayed at the U. Because, honestly, if Isaiah Horton would have stayed at the U, he would have been the number 1 receiver. And JoJo probably would have been number 2. We wouldn't have had to go get another receiver. We probably still would have got maybe 1 or 2, but, we wouldn't have been searching for a number 1 receiver right now. We would have had our solidified number 1 receiver, which would have been Isaiah Horton. Shamar Kirk also left. He transferred to Texas State. Shamar Kirk, he was came from junior college a couple years ago. He was a real promising athlete, man. Just couldn't, get on the field. There was a lot of guys in front of him. Riley Williams, man, tight end Riley Williams. He transferred to Oregon State. The reports is that, he was homesick. He's from California, Cali kid. He's from Cali. He wanted to be closer to home, man. So, he transferred over to, like I said, Oregon State. Again, he would have been in that tight end rotation, with Elijah Lofton. With 1-2 or 1A, 1B, man, he definitely would have been, in that rotation. On the O-line, we lost Zion Williamson, man, who's been here for a few years. He went to the U.S., SMU. Antonio Tripp, I think he was in the 24 class, or he was either in the 23 or 24 class, from Mario. He transfers to FIU. And the DBs, man, some of these guys had to go. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Robert Stafford III, I think he was dealing with injuries. He never really could, get a good grip on the field with the team, get some really good runs. He transfers to UCLA. Robbie Washington, man, he transfers to Coastal Carolina. He was, dibbling back and forth between receiver and DB. He was just trying to find his way on the field, man. Couldn't really, break that rotation. Jaden Harris, man, surprisingly, man, he transferred to Georgia. When I had first heard that in the offseason, man, I was really surprised that Georgia picked him up. He's a really good athlete, man. He just really took some bad angles, and he was often out of place on the defense, man, on that backside as a safety, man. And Yeah, man. He did not have a great season last year. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and we also lost Zaquan Patterson, man. He went to Oklahoma State. There was reports that he got kicked off the team or dismissed from the team. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I had heard some things about that. Um, he was a promising young guy, man. He actually played in all 12 games. I believe last year. He was played a lot of special teams, man. Got some run, on the back end, playing safety, especially in some of the games that we had blowouts in. Like I say, he was a promising guy, man. Wish he would have stayed and developed a little more. Um, but I think once we brought in these transfers, from these other schools, the safeties and stuff, he probably was like, man, these guys are a little older than me, a little bit better than me. He probably wanted to get some burn right away, and develop that way. But it is what it is, man. So on to the guys that left for the NFL, right? We had, I believe, like about 10 guys that left to go to the NFL. 7 of these guys got drafted, and 2 of them, I believe, were undrafted free agent pickups on some squads. But man, listen, Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick, man. Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if we've ever had a number 1 overall pick. I really didn't look into it. Maybe you guys can leave that in the comments if we ever had a number 1 overall pick. But Cam was the number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. Elijah Arroyo, our tight end, man, I really wish he would have got used a little more last year, man. He only had like 500 something yards last year, but he was an explosive player, man. Explosive. He was the number 50 overall pick. He was a 2nd round pick to the Seattle Seahawks. Jalen Rivers, offensive lineman, man, tackle guard, 5th round pick to the Cincinnati Bengals. Francisco Kiko Mauinoa, 5th round pick to the Jets. Tyler Barron, also a 5th round pick to the Jets. Automatic Andy Borregales, man, listen, man, I hate that we don't have any more Borregaleses, to depend on to kick these balls, man, because the past 5 or 6 years, however long it was that we had these guys, him and his brother, Andres, I think Andy is Andres, I can't remember his brother's first name, but the Borregales brothers, they were great for the U, man. He was a 6th round pick to the New England Patriots. I got Cam and Andy on my fantasy squad. Not starters, but those guys will come in handy, one day. Damian Martinez, 7th round pick to the Seattle Seahawks, man. And again, we had 2 guys, become undrafted free agents that were picked up. Xavier Strepel and Jacoby George both got picked up, as undrafted free agents. I believe X got cut from the Titans. He was, on the Titans for a while, but he didn't really get a lot of burn. In the preseason with the Titans, man. So they ended up letting him go. But yeah, man, those are the guys that went to the league, man. I'm so proud of those guys, man. That's been the most guys we've sent to the league since subsequently 2017. So those guys, kudos and good luck to those guys, man, in the future endeavors in the league. So, man, some of the guys that we brought in, man, like I say, we had the number 3 transfer portal class in the entire nation. So to replace Cam, man, there's a lot of questions about, who's going to replace Cam, who's going to be the number 1 QB. A lot of people was thinking, it might be Emory Williams, might be the true freshman that we brought in, Luke Nickel. But we ended up snagging, man, Carson Beck from the University of Georgia, man. 24-3 record in the SEC, which is an insane record because the SEC is looked at as the best all-around conference from top to bottom, really, because even some of them bottom teams in the SEC can beat some really good teams in other conferences, man. Not going to lie to you. He's won multiple conference championships, SEC championships at Georgia, won a natty, albeit as a backup, as a freshman behind Stetson Bennett. But he brings experience and he knows what it takes and what it looks like, to get to that level. He's been in some big games, man. He's never lost against Florida, which is a great stat that I love. We need to keep that up. And he brings some leadership, under center, man. He's I think a 5th-year senior. Like I say, he ended the season hurt last year, so he was cleared to throw, I think, in May after the spring camp. And he's been throwing ever since May, man. So, all reports, are saying that he looks great. Pop really coming off the ball, stuff like that, man. Um, Again, like I said earlier, we brought in a running back from North Dakota State, man, Marty Brown. He had over 1,000 yards as a redshirt freshman last year. So he's gonna, some size and a little bit of, speed. Not super fast, but like he'll be a little change of pace. We got some big backs, man. So he's just gonna be part of that three-headed monster group. At receiver, man, we brought in C.J. Daniels from LSU, man. He had an injury plagued season last year, man. They said he had a problem with his heel, I think. And you guys know, man, as football players, as a skill position group, man, with running, man, if your heel is hurting, like it's a no go. Like it's terrible. And and they say he played through the injury all season. So man, he's a tough guy. So we really need that. We really need that. Glad we got that. Um, let's see. C.J. Daniels, yes, came from LSU, but he had a couple standout seasons at Liberty. So that's great. Great, man. Keelan Marion, we brought in from BYU. Was one of the top kick returners in the entire nation last year, man. I think he had 2 or 3 kick returns took to the house last year, and he also experienced receiver. So we're gonna need that. Tony Johnson from Cincinnati, man, original walk-on at FAU. I'm sorry, but he brings also some experience at receiver. Probably, definitely in that slot area. Where still some questions about who's gonna get the main snaps at the slot. I think it's gonna be a rotation at the slot. At tight end, we brought in Alex Bauman from Tulane, man, a big guy, 6'6", 6'7", man. I think he had about 7 red zone TDs last year, man. So he's a big body and a big target that I think Carson Beck is really going to utilize, like I said, in these big packages or when we get down by the goal line or short yardage situations, man. I've been hearing this guy is really good, man. He's really been stepping up in camps in the summer and in the spring and in fall camps. We brought in James Brockermeyer, center from TCU. He's an honorary mention all Big 12, which is really good. You guys know. Well, I guess it's more of the Big 10 that's really heavy on offensive line, but still being honorable mention, in any conference is good because that means he was top 3 in the conference. Because you got first team, second team, and then if you're honorable mention, you was right there. You was third. Again, bring experience for that center position, which we really need. Because we have a freshman actually from Bishop Gorman that I think is going to be the future center of the squad for real. Also on D-line, we brought in a big tackle, man, David Blade, man. He brings size and a little bit of twitch on that interior. He had a really good year last year at Louisiana Tech. At linebacker, man, we brought in a couple good guys, Kamal Bonner from NC State and Mo Torre, man. A lot of people have been talking about Mo Torre, man, how good, how twitchy he is. He played under the new defensive coordinator that we have at one of his previous stops. So he knows this defense that, the new defensive coordinator is going to be running. So he could teach that to all the other guys, man. And I think that's going to be great. He was out all of last year. He had an ACL injury, but they say he's back. He's healthy. Doesn't have a brace or a sleeve on his leg. So I think he's going to be, really big in the rotation this year, alongside Wesley Passant. At DB, we brought in Xavier Lucas from Wisconsin, man. Freshman All-American talent. I don't think he was a freshman All-American. Our guy got that. OJ, he's the one that got that. And I think the guy from I want to say Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame was the other freshman All-American at corner. But yeah, man, he was right there. Freshman All-American talent, bringing experience and size and speed to the boundary, man. I think it's going to be him and OJ Frederick at those boundary corner positions. We also brought in Keontae Scott from Auburn, man, an experienced guy from the SEC. Also has kick and punt return experience. He's a really good nickel corner, so he might actually start at nickel. Charles Brentley, another nickel guy from Michigan State. He's a senior. Again, bringing experience in production, man, from the Big Ten, which is some really good defenses and quarterbacks in the Big Ten, man. So he brings some good experience. And also we brought in safety Zachariah Poyser from Jacksonville State, man. again, another freshman All-American at safety position, making a jump up to power forward, but he brings size and a little bit of speed and knowledge, man, to that safety position, which we really need. We really, really need. Okay. So those are some of the guys that we got from the transfer portal this year. So the coaching staff, man, like I say, we had an overhaul on the defensive coaching staff, which we really needed because everybody but Jason Taylor left last year. Jason Taylor was the top defensive line recruiter in the ACC last year. So it was no way we could let him go. It was only his second year in the staff. We needed to keep Jason Taylor. So we brought in Corey Heatherman, who's the new defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. He was the defensive coordinator at Minnesota last year. They had a top 10 defense. His first year at Minnesota was last year. They had a top 10 defense. So I'm really looking forward to what he brings, to Miami. Again, it's a step up in competition for sure. But I think, he's a younger guy. But he really looks intense and that he's going to bring in. I hear, he runs a pretty simple, base defense, but these guys, he allows his guys to play fast and play physical, man. So we really need that. He brought in a alumni, Damian Lewis, as a defensive tackles coach, man. He was with the Seahawks previously. So he stepped down from, the NFL to come back home to the U. Again, man, hopefully, him working with Jason Taylor, man, get that defensive line really good. We have a lot of depth at the D line too. So we really counting on those guys, man, to continue that dominance at the line of scrimmage. We brought in Will Harris and Zach Etheridge, respectfully from Florida and Auburn, defensive back coaches, man. I think they're gonna, they're gonna just work together, defensive back. I don't think it's necessarily gonna be one guy's corner, one guy's safety. Like they're gonna, work together, man. They're gonna bounce ideas off each other, and I think it's really gonna work out. So with all that, man, like I said, man, complete overhaul on the defensive staff. Offensive staff remains the same. Continuity, love it. The offseason started, like I say, with substantial reset, with high-end talent departing. But, the Hurricanes entered the year with a completely revamped core, particularly on defense. And must rely on these guys heavily from the transfer portal and underclassmen, man, to replace the production and the leadership from last year that we lost. Man, we lost a lot of production last year. We lost our top 6 receivers from last year. So all that has to be replaced. Like I said, it's going to be another number 1 receiver this year, man. So yeah, man, with that being said, we're going to move on ahead into the 2025 season preview, man. Big season. Like I say, year number 4 for Mario. We have a lot of pieces, like I say, to make a deep run in the postseason. We should make it to the ACC title game. Whether we win or not, we'll talk about it. We'll see. Listen, as I say, replacing Cam Ward was a big thing, man. It was a big thing. That was number 1 on the bulletin board, I think, probably other than revamping the defense. But, having veteran and proven leadership from Carson Beck, man, coming from the SEC with that 24-3 record, which is great. Like I say, won a couple SEC championships, a national title as a backup, but he brings that experience, man. He knows what it takes. He ended the season last year with an elbow injury, a UCL injury. He had surgery over the offseason. Heard the rehab went great. Heard he was going through all the reps, not physically, but mentally going through the reps, in the spring. And he's a smart guy, man. He, even watching some highlights, of him, because I didn't watch a lot of Georgia. Even though I live in Atlanta, I don't watch a lot of Georgia. It is on a lot, but I just don't watch a lot of Georgia. But, man, when he has time in that pocket, man, and has a running game to lean on, like he is an elite quarterback. And from the 2023 season, we hope he can, return to that form. And if he does that, man, the ceiling, the sky's the ceiling, man, honestly. Having a stacked offensive line, like I say, in a running back room should give Carson the stability he needs to really succeed under the Shannon Dawson offense that produced the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. So he might end up being another top pick, in the draft. Will he be number one? Probably. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Don't know. But if he performs well like he did in 2023 or returns to that form, I really believe he's going to be a first round pick. The off season changes, that are pushing, us closer to where we need to be to continue to be dominant and, just have these postseason runs all the time, man. We need to dominate the AC. We need to get to a point where we dominate the ACC. And then we will know the U is back. CBS Sports ranked Miami's transfer, as one of the tops in the nation, bringing in Beck, an absolute complete overhaul in the defensive backfield should give Miami its most complete team since Cristobal has been tenured here at Miami. 2025 offseason was transformative, not only, with the transfer portal additions, but also with incoming freshmen. While, the class was only ranked number 14 in the nation, like I, mentioned before, key players that really have, made an imprint in the offseason, man, such as Malachi Tony and Josh Moore at the receiver position, where those guys are really going to get some burn. Malachi Tony might actually be the starting slot receiver, man. They had some promising spring and fall camps, man, and they can really contribute to the team's success this season. Will the defense hold up this season, man? I really think the defense will hold up this season. I think we're bringing in, Corey Heatherman, man, a young mind. This guy was actually a quarterback in college. When he played in college, he was a quarterback. So I think that really gives him a different perspective and actually an advantage with being a defensive coordinator, because he was on the other side of the ball. He knows what it looks like on the other side of the ball. He knows what formations look like, what certain offenses look like, and he also knows what defenses work well against those offenses, because he had to read those defenses and see those defenses. So I really think that that gives him an advantage, and that's probably why he's such a good defensive coordinator, why he was good at Minnesota, man. Cristobal reshaped the staff, man, to address 2024 shortcomings, which was the secondary. With only Jason Taylor remaining, from the previous staff, the defensive coaching staff is all new faces, we're bringing attitude and, and a look to that side of the ball, man. The late season push, the month of November, man. Month of November has been quite ugly for us, not going to lie. We actually had 5 games in the month of November this year. And although I really see us having a really successful and good season, the last 2 games of the season really scare me, man. Going up to Blacksburg, Virginia, and going to Pittsburgh, man. We do not perform well in the cold, and I think those are, especially Virginia Tech, man. It's going to be a hostile environment. Virginia Tech, man. Like I say, man, growing up, Virginia Tech, Florida State, man. Those are some of our bigger rivals, man, and going to Blacksburg, playing at night, man, into the sand, man. Oh my God, listen, that stadium be rocking. Okay, that stadium really be rocking, man. Historically, man, in program history, man, especially as of late and under Mario's tutelage, the month of November has not been kind to us. Again, we got 5 games in the month of November. Every week in November, we have a game. The narrative, has to be turned around. And Miami and the program has to prove that we can close the season out strong and beat these teams. Again, beatable teams, just in hostile environments and in situations that we're not used to. We have to step up. And I think that, having the leadership of Carson Beck under center will help in those positions and in that regard. So let's get, to some projections of the season, man. Again, we open the season against Notre Dame. Man. They made it all the way to the national championship last year. Albeit they lost, some production, especially from the quarterback position. Some, offensive line. They even have some injuries on the offensive line this season, to start the season. But it's still going to be a tough game, man. This is going to be a really tough game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout, and I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think both offenses will be run heavy, especially Notre Dame. Notre Dame arguably has the best running back in the nation, with Jeremiah Love. And they arguably have the best running back room in the nation, man, because their 1-2 punch is something serious. They have a really big and aggressive offensive line, but we have a really big and aggressive defensive line. So I really think that's going to be a stalemate. I think the advantage that we have in this game is going to be our defensive line versus our offensive line versus their defensive line. So I think we're really going to be able to run the ball really effectively, and I think that's going to help Carson Beck in the passing game. Now, Notre Dame is returning a top 3 defense from last year. A lot of those guys are coming back. Okay, a lot of those guys are coming back. A lot of those, especially the secondary, man, they have 2 guys that's NFL ready, NFL talented guys. And like they really are a really good defense, man. They lost their defensive coordinator, which is he went to the NFL, used to coach us, forgot his name, used to have, the messy shirt and the tie. I can't think of his name. I be having brain farts, man. I can't think of his name right now. I should have wrote it down. I didn't. I'm sorry. Y'all drop it in the comments. But he's off to the NFL, so they have a new defensive coordinator, man. And so we're gonna see how that gels. We're gonna see if that scheme, works with those players and stuff like that, man. So number 6 Notre Dame's the first game of the season. We have actually 2 ranked teams within the first 4 games of the season. We have Notre Dame number 1, the first game of the season. We have Florida, the 4th game of the season. I think we're gonna, smack Florida again. I'm not worried about that, because they got to come down to the crib, come down to the Rock. We got to pack out the Rock this season, man. Again, we were 6-0 at home last year. We have 8 home games this year. We have to protect home field, man. We have to protect the Rock, man. Can't nobody come and break the Rock, okay? And despite Notre Dame, like I say, starting a redshirt freshman at quarterback, man, CJ Carr, he was a number 4 rated quarterback in the class of 2024. So he is not a bum, guys. CJ Carr is not a bum. Yes, he will be getting his first snaps, making his first pass attempts in college, but do not underestimate this guy. He is not a bum. Okay. I think, like I say, Notre Dame will be really run heavy, and that's going to take a lot of pressure off of the young quarterback. So, man, I think it's going to be a good game. We have 2 early bye weeks, man, which is something I do not like. We have a bye week after the Florida game, before the Florida State game, and then another bye week after the Florida State game before Louisville. I don't like that, because then, with us having 2 early bye weeks, that means that we're going to have to play 7 consecutive ACC conference games after the second bye week. Okay, you got Louisville, and then you're going to have a whole slew of other games. Some tough games, man. It's going to be some tough games. We don't play Georgia Tech this year, which is probably a relief to some of them guys on the team, because they done beat us the last 2 years. But, man, like I say, man, there's going to be some tough games, man. Notre Dame, of course, UF. Even though I feel like we're going to smack them, it's still going to be a tough game, and they're better than they were last year. And they actually ended the season pretty good last year. Florida State is going to be tough. It's a rivalry game. They're not going to have another 2-10 season, man. They'll probably win maybe 7 or 8 games, but we don't need to be one of those 7 or 8 wins, okay? They beat Alabama yesterday, but I think Alabama was overrated. They had Alabama ranked number 8. I don't think Alabama should have been ranked in the top 10, honestly. So Florida State will probably be ranked by the time we play them. We also play Louisville, all those games at home. We don't leave the state of Florida until November. November is the first time that we are going to leave the state of Florida. We are in the state of Florida until November, which is crazy. Like I say, Louisville, SMU will be the first game that we play out of state. In Dallas, we're going to SMU. Syracuse is coming, coming down. We owe them a butt whooping from last year. And again, man, them last 2 games of the season, Vitek and Pitt, man, in cold weather environments, man. Vitek, a really loud, hostile environment, man. That crowd is crazy. I think those are really going to be 2 of the tougher games, and those are going to be the games that prove whether we're making that next step in the program of again finishing the season strong, man. We need to win those games. I feel like as a rock bottom floor, we would be an 8-4 team, which means we won't make the ACC championship game, and again means we will not make the college football playoff. An absolute ceiling for this roster and this team, man, is undefeated, man. Like, I can see a path where the U can go 12-0, which means, we will be in the AC championship game, be a vaunted test against Clemson. Again, I think Clemson is overrated because I really don't see Kate Klubnik as the guy that people are saying he is. He's supposed to be the top quarterback coming back in the NCAA. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. Like I say, man, the ceiling's 12-0, man. ACC championship, a top 4 team in a college football playoff, man. But realistically, what I think we are going to do this year, man, me personally, again, those last 2 games of the season really scare me. I hate to say it, man. I feel like we might drop one of those last 2 games, man. But I also feel like we are going to win every other game other than one of those 2 games at the end. I feel like we're going to beat Notre Dame. I feel like we're going to beat Florida. I feel like we're going to beat Florida State. I feel like we're going to beat Louisville. I feel like we're going to beat SMU. I feel like we're going to beat Syracuse. It's just those last 2 games, Vatech and Pitt, they scare me a little bit, man. They scare me. Honestly, they scare me. So my realistic prediction is that we're going to go 11-1. We're going to make the ACC championship game. Win or lose, don't know yet. I'll make, more of a prediction of that later on in the season. I think we're going to be a top 10 team nationally at the end of the season. And we're going to make the college football playoff, man, for the first time. Period. Man, the secondary and special teams, while they have improved, are seen as areas needing breakthroughs to elevate the team beyond, the past what ifs, along with Crystal Ball's on-field coaching and decision making. I really think, those things are integral. Again, we don't have no more Borregales brothers. So, we got 2 transfer kickers. Going to have to see how those guys hold up in pressure moments, big moments. Because it's different, in just kicking extra points. And then when you got to kick a 50-yarder, a 48 and a 49-yarder with 4 seconds left and we're down 2, it's that pressure bust pipes, okay? Seriously, pressure bust pipes. I was going to try to, that's really going to do it, for this episode. I was going to try to, make another episode before the Notre Dame game, but, time really hasn't allowed me to do so. So I wanted to, have an in-depth look at the Notre Dame game, keys to victory and all that for the next episode, but we're going to scratch that, right? The next episode is going to be after the Notre Dame game. We're going to review the game, probably even react to some highlights and stuff, man. I'm going to see if I can get that, incorporated in the next episode, man. So we're going to go over, like I say, the next episode, which will probably be Monday, Monday morning, after they drop, the highlights and stuff from the Sunday night game. So that'll be on the next episode, a review of the Notre Dame game. And then the episode after that, going to touch on the next upcoming game, which I might just that might just be in the next episode. I might just touch that a little bit because the next game after that, it's going to be Bethune-Cookman, which we really don't need to really talk much about them. Really, I mean, I think we're gonna put up probably 70 points on Bethune. No offense to all my peoples, from Wildcat Nation, what it do, but yeah, we gonna smack y'all. But I will be dropping my first Falcons podcast, my first Falcons episode next week as well. So if you're a Falcons fan, man, make sure you share this with other fans, stuff like that, man. I will be touching on the Falcons' first game. Week 1 is next week, so I will be touching on that. And again, man, make sure you guys follow the social medias, man. The social medias are at the bottom of the page, man. The Instagrams, Soundwaves Media, at Nuke Waves, man. That's my personal page. Make sure you guys comment. Any question that you have, any advice that you have, anything that, you just want to, anything that, you want to mention about the episodes, what I could do better on, what you guys like to see, what kind of content you guys would like, just let me know. And, like I say, man, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the page and comment. And, that's going to do it, for this episode, man. Listen, put them U's up. Notre Dame, Sunday, 7:30. Make sure you're in front of the TV. I'm be in front of the TV. I'm probably having some chicken wings. I know I got some, some fish. I'm gonna have some fish and chicken, some surf and turf. Hey, it is what it is. Make sure y'all check out this game. Wear orange if you going to the Rock, man. Make sure you wear orange, okay? And make sure that stadium is loud. Hey, man, I'm gonna check y'all out next time, man. Thank you again for tuning in to the ATL Hurricane Podcast, man. Peace out.